Hello and welcome back to the channel, folks. HeirofCarthage here, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about a preview for patch 1.1. Now, there was a tweet from Total War today, March the 31st, and they stated that they are aiming to release the patch on Tuesday, the 5th of April. Now, this patch, we do not have specific notes yet. They said that the notes would be available on the day of deployment. So we won't know all the exact specifics until the day of deployment, and of course I will cover those specifics with you to some degree when that day of deployment comes. But this is exciting news for us to know that we will have an update to the game, and it sounds like a fairly major update, and you might be saying, well, Air, how do you know? They said that they don't have specifics. They do not. However, on the 18th of March, they released an article on the Total War website. I'll link to it down in the description, and it has a bit of a preview. And I wanted to talk about the impact of the changes that they lined out and how it could change the game. Now, of course, bear in mind that there's probably a lot more changes that will come in this patch, and I'm just going to cover some of the big ones here. So let's jump in, and first one I want to talk about is a change to the Forge of Souls mechanic. Now, the specific bullet point that I want to talk to here says, when a player intercepts an AI Lord at the Forge of Souls, their souls will now be lost, forcing them to restart their collection. This should make it easier to disrupt the Souls race. This is a small bullet point, but a huge change to the way that the Forge of Souls race goes on right now in the game. I think that this change alone will be able to change the way a lot of players approach their campaigns, allow them to implement new strategies, and to feel like they have a little bit more of a sandbox on the Total War Warhammer 3 campaign map. In the current state of the game, if you go to intercept an enemy lord at the Forge of Souls, it tells you if you defeat them that it will be 15 turns before they can return. Some of the challenges you run into, however, is what if 3 of the different races, or 4, all have enough souls to attempt the final battle? You go and you wait. One shows up, you defeat them. A few turns later, another one shows up, you defeat them. If you miss, you lose the campaign. You cannot continue playing. And then we find out, through sad experience, myself included, and I have had this happen to me, so I know it is real, it's not 15 turns before the AI Lord can return. I've had them return in as few as 3 turns, so that is broken as a mechanic. And honestly, rather than trying to fix the 15 turns, I like what CA is doing here. All souls for the AI will be lost, and they have to restart the race. This is a significant change because it allows the player to be less concerned with being ahead in the race to the Forge of Souls, should they choose to be. They can still choose to run that race and stay ahead, or they can choose to adopt a different strategy, which is to strengthen their empire on the campaign map and simply be able to block the AI and reset them, and then continue on pace with the race for the Forge of Souls as they see fit. I love this change. It's not the exact way that I would have done this. In fact, the way I wanted to do this was to make it just like the Vortex campaign from Warhammer 2. If the AI was going to attempt a final battle, you get an automatic notification, and you can attempt to defeat them, and once defeated, it's just over. So this isn't exactly how I would have chosen to do it, but it is a good fix, and it is going to be a massive change to the way the game plays, and I think for a lot of players this will alleviate a great deal of frustration with the realm of Chaos and Forge of Souls frustration. The next bullet point I want to read from their preview says, the protection building chain can now be used to prevent the spawning of rifts in a province in which they're built. This is also a great change. Now, what this does is it gives the player a couple of options, and I like these options. One, they can continue as is. If they have a spare agent, they can move around, and they can close these rifts at a cost of 1,500 gold each time they encounter them. That is still an option for the player, as we know, I guess, because they haven't said that it's going away. 2, if you want to use one of your building slots for the protection chain, that will prevent it from spawning in the first place. Now, where this will be extremely helpful is as you get later into the Forge of Souls race, rifts spawn everywhere. The rifts spread an incredible, ridiculous amount of chaos corruption. And it's not so much that they spread a lot of corruption to where it completely corrupts your province. For me, it's the speed at which they spread it. It's like plus 50 or something ludicrous. that they spread it. And it cannot be overcome by any of your, characters combined with buildings or anything. It will not be overcome. It will spread, and it will totally corrupt your province. And then, once the rift leaves, you have to wait a great number of turns for that to slowly come back down. So it raises very quickly, and it drops very slowly. And then when you combine that with the fact that every 20 or so turns, you could be having more rifts pop up. Sometimes I have played campaigns where I have a settlement like Kislev or Prague, where I will be in turn 120 or 30, and that settlement is not at tier 5, and in fact it will never be at tier 5 because I cannot get it to grow because of the constant corruption killing all the growth. So this is a nice change. It will help a great deal in preventing that type of thing from happening and making it where the player can't effectively enter the late game. So this is also going to be a very nice change. Now, there are 2 bullet points I want to read and kind of consider as one for our next point. Here's the first one. The strength of negative realm traits has been reduced by roughly 50%. This is a good change. The next one says, the rewards for gaining souls have been improved by providing additional bonuses for a limited period of time. These 2 bullet points combined to address an issue that was very frustrating for players, which was, number 1, with all the other issues we already discussed, you're being forced into the realm of chaos, and you have to do it because if you fall behind in the race, you're going to lose your campaign, and then when you come back, you've had all this corruption, you've had all the negative growth, you can't get anything going, and your lord is going around spreading even more corruption and all kinds of other issues, maybe losing like 20 leadership. I've seen ridiculous traits come out of the Chaos Realms. Now, the negative traits from the Chaos Realm are actually kind of a cool immersion, right? Your army went there, it's a nightmarish, horrible place to be, it weighs on their conscience, and it affects their performance. I think that's a fair thing, and I think it's fairly interesting and immersive. Reducing the strength of it is one way to address it. I think that's okay. Another way to address it would be to just have those traits potentially drop off after a number of turns. But this is fine. Like, the way they're heading is fine. There's buildings that help remove them. They've been reduced some, so this will be okay. What I really like here is the adding of bonuses, which rewards the player for going through the pain, right? Your land is full of rifts, you're facing rebellions, there's demon armies invading, there's enemies, and you have to take your only army and send it to the realm of chaos and fight your way through it for, who knows how many turns. At a minimum, like 3, a maximum, like 7 or 8 turns that your leader is going to be gone. That's painful. And so adding some rewards for doing it is great. So that is a fantastic move. It doesn't say what these rewards are. Have to wait to see if it's appropriate, but the idea is better. Reward the player more for entering those realms of chaos and taking on the Souls race. So this is going to be a nice change. I should also mention that there was a 3rd bullet point that states, well, there's 2 more that are actually kind of tied to that a little, so let's cover both. First, the traits gained in the realm of chaos will now be removed when that lord completes the survival battle within that realm. Again, tag that one on to the fact that you're now rewarded more for going and gaining the soul with the fact that those traits don't follow you home. This is great. Like I said, all in all, this is going to serve to reward the player more and make the experience feel more rewarding and make it feel less punishing and less of a slog. On top of that, demon legendary lords will no longer be burdened by negative traits of the respective patron gods, so you're not going to be playing as Nurgle, go to the realm of Nurgle, and come back being horrified from having been to the realm of Nurgle when you yourself are a giant herald of Nurgle, right? So that also makes a lot of sense. So really nice changes, and I like where they're going with it. Now, they also mention in passing infantry responsiveness. That has been a major issue. I have had times where I see a spell pop up where it's going to hit my troops. I'll have 5 or 6 seconds to react depending on the wind-up time of the spell. I give my infantry unit an order immediately, and within the time that the spell goes off, they don't even move. They get slapped by the spell, and then shortly afterwards, then they move. So they said that they're going to try and upgrade infantry responsiveness. We don't get a lot of details there, but yes, they need to do that. I'm glad to see that they're intending to address it. They're also talking about faction balance. And then there's bug fixes like an alt and tab crash. I get alt and tab crashed a ton as a content creator, so I would love to see that be ended. And there's a lot more to come. So anyway, long story short, I'm looking forward to the patch coming up on April 5th. I'm glad CA is releasing it, and I hope that their focus really drives into support on this game. Recently, there's been some games that I liked, and I will use one as an example, Halo Infinite. It is a good game, that had a lack of content and some issues, and the industry that makes it, 343, has been extremely slow to respond. There's been almost no changes. I've played Halo my whole life. I don't play Halo Infinite anymore because I'm just so frustrated and put out with it. I do not want this to happen with Total War. So I'm glad to see CA making the change, and all I can ask them, and I know it's difficult because it takes a lot of work, is be responsive. Make a lot of changes, even if you do small changes at a time. Keep the audience engaged. Let's keep the improvement going. I'm glad to see this improvement, and I'd love to see CA really keep the support strong and thick on this game so that we don't end up in one of those situations where people are just frustrated, put out, and they give up. Because I have experienced that myself recently, and I do not want that happening to Total War, and I think it has happened for some people already, and that's sad, and I don't want that to continue. Anyway, this has been my update for the incoming patch notes. Make sure to get down in the comments and tell me what you think of the incoming patch notes. Are they getting it right? Are they getting it wrong? Do you think things will be headed in a better direction? And I can't wait to hear from you. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you soon with some more content in Total War Warhammer 3.